Hello and welcome all into the MO podcast. You're here with me, Consummation San, and my host,
Treya.
And today we're going to be talking about 4 kind of connected cases. We're going to be talking about the Somerton Man, the Oslo Woman, the Isdal Woman, and the Cambo Man. All these people have died in mysterious circumstances, and we'll discuss as and why that may have happened. So first of all, we'll start with the Somerton Man, who, to be honest with you, chronologically, that is the first one in these cases. So this was in the 1st of December in 1948. The body of a man was discovered on Somerton Beach, which is just southwest of Adelaide in Australia. He was found lying on the sand with his head propped up against the seawall. He was spotted by several people during the evening, which is apparently in the same position, which is a bit unfortunate for him because
He just thought he was pissed.
Well, this is what one of them said, because actually one couple that saw him, he actually commented to his girlfriend that he was so out of it, he mustn't feel the mosquitoes that were probably on the beach biting him. So what actually happened, we don't know, but he was assumed to be drunk or asleep, so all these people just left him be, passed him by. But one couple did notice that he extended his right leg at one point and then actually dropped it limply on the sand, so maybe it was, they just thought, oh, he's having one of them dreams where you fall out the tree. And your leg goes for it. We've all had them, been woken up in the middle of the night. Like, what? So, another couple that saw him, that he was in view for 30 minutes, and he actually didn't move during this time, but he did kind of change his position. So they just thought, oh, he's just rolled over in his sleep, kind of thing.
How much have you had, love?
Exactly, but no one actually, they were walking past, and where the seawall is, like there's a road next to it, and then there's a beach, so they must even be walking on the road or the beach, so in clear view of this guy, and they never once went over and poked him with a stick or or had a word or anything. I mean, it must have been a common sight in that area, just to go, you know what, another drunkard.
I would say so.
What a drongo, I believe that's what one of them would have said.
Check you out using the slang.
Exactly, yeah, you see. And then one would have said, it's all right, throw another shrimp on the barbie, mate.
Terrible.
Indeed. And that is where I get Neighbours and Home and Away is exclusively where I get all my Australian history from. Is Alf Ramsey still alive? Anyway, sorry.
I've no idea.
I know.
But I know who you mean.
Yeah, I've not seen it for years.
Yeah, right, sounds like it.
Yeah.
Sure you're not missing the omnibus?
No, taped it for later.
You taped it. How old are you?
I've got my VCR out. Anyway, right, throwback to the 90s, and if you weren't born before then or during then get a life. So basically, he was an open verdict was actually cast on the case. There was no particular cause of death. They couldn't find anything within his system. There was no abrasions, no injuries on him, and it couldn't be confirmed, but the coroner suspected that it was poisoning. But again, there was nothing in his system. I don't even think he was over the limit for alcohol. There was nothing wrong. The only thing they found was a pasty that he had eaten 4 hours before his death, I think. But then the case gets quite interesting because all the labels in his clothes were removed. He had no hat which I thought was a random kind of fact to throw in, but apparently in 1948 everyone was wearing a hat, and that was considered odd at the time for him to have no hat.
Even drunk on the beach?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if all Australians were wearing hats with the corks on, and that's kind of what they meant, that he wasn't wearing a hat, or whether it was just like a straw boater, or I don't know what, but apparently it was odd enough to have been put in the coroner's report. So
was not wearing hat.
Yeah.
How uncouth.
Exactly. Fancy coroner. Not even a weekday hat. I mean, it's terrible. So basically, and as well, one of the... I think it's interesting, but his toes and calf muscles were consistent with someone who wore boots, shoes with heels, or performed ballet.
Yes, I read that.
Yeah, and I think that's quite interesting because we'll come on to it later, and it kind of gels in with my theory on this. But he wasn't a manual labourer. His hands didn't have any calluses on. The coroners couldn't see that he was... I'm not going to say hard working, but working class kind of person. He was more, not aloof, but more well to do than being like in 1948. I think unless you're like a doctor, you're a docker or something. You know, with the war just ending and there was rationing going on, so it was kind of you were either well above the bread line, or you were on it or below it, and you were just doing what you can do to earn money. So then, the 14th of January, a suitcase was found at Adelaide train station, and this is weird because it kind of ties in with other things that we're going to talk about as well later on. That there was a suitcase left somewhere, just bizarre. And it was checked in on the 30th of November, bearing in mind he died on the 1st of December, so this is 30 days of September, April, June,
the day before he died.
There you go, yeah, someone who knows their months. So literally a day before he died, and that's kind of says to me that he just wanted to go on a little walk. He didn't want to carry his suitcase around and be back for it later on. So in the suitcase, it was... checked, it had its labels removed, and so did all the clothes inside, apart from some which had a label, I think it was Bennett, or the name Bennett written inside, and I think there was only 3 items of clothing.
There was something found with 2 items found with the word Keen on, but one was spelt with an E and one was spelt without an E.
Excuse me, yeah, it was Keen, not Bennett, but they had different spellings on them, and another thing as well, which kind of links all these cases. He had unique teeth. So he had sharp canines next to his front teeth and no lateral incisors. The only reason that I bring that up is because another couple of cases, they have unique dental work in them, which is just bizarre considering the scope of these cases. So during the inquest, which was actually put off until July of the following year, I don't know whether it was found during the inquest or whether it was just found apropos of nothing. But there was a scrap of paper found in his... I'm going to say, because this is the only way I know how to describe it, is Johnny pocket.
I think it was it was a secret pocket made in the waistband of his trousers.
Yeah, so it was basically... You know in jeans where you get that kind of... that little useless pocket next to your I mean, I don't know if you get them with ladies' jeans. I'll be honest, I don't wear them, so I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, so it was kind of that useless pocket that I've forever known as a Johnny pocket, but it was kind of on the back and it was sewn in. So they had to. It was really hard for them to get out, and they would have never noticed it, other than this. I'm gonna say nosy person having a look at his pants for some reason. But on this piece of paper was the word tamam shud, which is Persian, and it means ending or the end, or connotations to that kind of aspect. So the book is the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, and apparently it was a really popular book because there's at least 2 other instances in this story where the book features, and it was in fact 3 other 3 to be honest, and it's about a book about living every day as your last day kind of thing. You just got to go out and enjoy it, getting to the end of your life and having no regrets. And that word tamam shud is on the last page of the book, and kind of like means the end, as you'd have in like The Hobbit or whatever. Well, maybe.
Strange thing to carry around in a hidden pocket.
It is, and it was even stranger because it was handed in. The actual copy of this book that they found was handed in by a local chemist who found it in the back seat, under the back seat of his car, and this is 6 months later that he's handed it in. And in Adelaide as well, there was a bus conductor called Leslie Whitekin who handed in a copy as well, but it actually didn't match the page didn't match what it was. So there's like a few people in Adelaide going around with this book, but the one that was handed in by the chemist was a 1941 New Zealand print, which was quite rare, and it still is rare, to be honest. So that's how they managed to track it down. And in the back of this book, there was a code, or it's been claimed to be a code, but it's just a lot of letters. I mean, people have tried to look at it. I don't know if they've got the Enigma people in on it, but a lot of, I assume people who do word searches and crosswords have had a look at it. You know the type. I'm not looking at anyone, Atreya.
They've had the world's best code breakers on it, but I haven't tried it yet. I am the word search champion.
So nerds, basically. So they've all had a look at it, and it doesn't follow any particular thing that they've come across before. There's no ciphers that they can fit to this that would break this code. But it also had the telephone number of a local person called Jessica Thompson in the back of it, which it was an unlisted number, so they had to like track her down. What's interesting is Jessica Thompson gave a copy of this book to a army lieutenant that she was looking after called Alf Boxhall when she was working in a Melbourne hospital. So she was very familiar with this book and with men in uniform, let's say. So the chemist said he'd never seen this book before. He didn't even know it was there. He claimed it had been thrown in his unlocked car just before the body was found. So maybe he was just having a clean out one day and went, I don't know what that is. Put it in the attic, and then when the media they asked the media to find out this because it's such a random reference, then he came forward with it. So they got hold of Jessica Thompson, and she's called Jessica Ellen Thompson, but Thompson's her married name. But this was in 1948. She wasn't actually married to her husband, who was Prosper Thompson, until 1950. She'd just taken his name. The reason is because Prosper was married and he'd not yet been divorced. So as soon as his divorce was finalised, he married Jessica. He didn't let the grass grow under his feet. So basically, with Jessica, she's quite an interesting character in this. She was a nurse. She was in 1945. She was working at the Royal North Shore Hospital during World War II. So obviously the war was just ending. There was people coming back from the war with whatever tales they had. She met Alf Boxhall, who was a few years her senior. She was 27 at this time, and all the people that Prosper was, I think, 12 years her senior. The man on Somerton Beach was 18 years her senior, and I think Alf was 10 years her senior as well. So she liked him older.
Sugar daddy.
Yeah. Apparently, as soon as Alf told Jessica that he was married, she said, "Oh, I am as well. I wasn't trying to do anything." And this is where they think she started using the name Thompson from, because maybe she was trying to look, but he said, "No, I'm not that way inclined." But anyway, when the authorities got into contact with Jessica, she denied all knowledge of knowing the man, and she actually went so far as to ask for her name to be kept out of any inquiries and to be kept off all the police work. And they actually did that, which hampered all the other inquiries in the future, because basically all the police paperwork said was, we found a number, it belonged to redacted, and then never mentioned her name. But they got her in for questioning, asked her these questions. She wasn't overly helpful, but the police felt that she wasn't being deceptive. But when she did see a death mask, because they took a plaster cast of the Somerton Man's face, it was said that she was taken aback to the point of fainting, and she didn't want to look at it again. She just saw it once, and then even though she was in the room and being asked questions, she didn't then look again at it, which for me, she knows him, or knows of him.
It's a bit weird to almost faint over somebody you don't know. Exactly,
that's it. And as well, in the gentleman who did the actual death mask, he actually put in his diary that he would smash. I don't think he used them words, but basically that's how he described Jessica. So again, I don't know why that was in the notes or in the research, but he
I would smash.
I don't think he put it that way, but
God, I hope he did.
Maybe he put, she was a ripper, mate.
Wow.
Don't even know what that means, but yeah. So she was taken aback by this plaster cast. It weren't even his body; it was a plaster cast of his face, and she then, I wouldn't say she got abrasive, but she helped the police to an extent. The interesting thing is with this, in 1947, Jessica gave birth to a baby. This is why she was let go from the hospital, because if you were a nurse during that time, if you were in the family way, you weren't allowed to stay on site. So she withdrew from nursing in 1947, gave birth to a boy called Robin, and then she moved to Adelaide, and that's when she started to use the surname Thompson again, but she wasn't actually married to Prosper until 1950. What's interesting about the baby, is that Robin went on to meet his future wife while studying ballet at the Australian Ballet School. Robin also had unique teeth, and he had an ear feature that the Somerton Man had, which was his upper ear hollow was larger than the lower one. which I think with these two things, only up to 2% of the population of the world had. I mean, the world is quite massive, but when you look at it in the kind of view that he liked ballet, he had dodgy teeth and his ears were massive, then
it's a good link, isn't it, really?
Yeah, exactly. And Prosper Thompson, he was known as a little bit of a Del boy, let's say. He ran a hire car / taxi business, so he had access to vehicles, and there is one theory that says the Somerton Man wasn't actually killed where he was, or even though he was seen there for a long time, he was placed there after the fact. And he also had a reputation of being a bit of a, I'm not going to say a bruiser, but his kind of word was law in his business activities, kind of thing. And in the army as well, he did work. He did dabble in the black market. He was private in the army, and he did do a little bit of wheeling and dealing, like I'm sure quite a lot of people did. But he was very good at it, apparently. So for me, I think this is basically that the Somerton Man has found out that he's got a baby boy with Jessica. He's gone to visit her. Jessica did actually say that there was someone looking for a nurse who lived. Her neighbour said that there was someone who came round a few days beforehand and was asking about a nurse who lived here. I don't know why it'd be nurse. Maybe that's what she said to police, because if he did know her, surely he'd know her name. I mean, maybe not. I don't know the type of lady she was, but but yeah, I think she kind of fell in the family way. They weren't married. He was a lot more senior than her. She was a nurse, so she knew. I'm not going to say she knew about poison, because that's a far stretch from being a nurse to knowing about poison, but she certainly knew how the body worked. There is a theory as well. I think it's foxhill. The flower foxhill is quite poisonous, and it leaves no trace in the system once it's ingested. So maybe she could have found that out, and if alongside Prosper, I think maybe that he found out that he was sniffing around. She could have used her nurse expertise. For me as well, with the poison angle, it's the couple noted he extended his right leg before dropping it limply. I think that's kind of like not the death rattle, because I don't think he died until early morning, but it's when your body starts to shut down, and he just couldn't. It's the limpness that they described of it, which kind of got me. But there was no trace found in the body, so I don't know. I think he's a spurned lover, and he turned up at the wrong house at the wrong time.
But then why were all the labels from his clothes removed?
You see, this, I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to be easily explained away, but during this time, during the end of the 1940s, rationing was still going on in Australia. So for me, my sense of thinking is that these are second-hand clothes that he's bought or he's got from a charity shop, and the person beforehand, they've cut them out. Otherwise, if it's like a case we'll discuss later, all the labels and any identifying marks were removed, but the keen was still left there.
Which doesn't make any sense either, considering it was spelt differently on two different items of clothing.
But then it could have been two different keens that have donated them items to charity shops.
And this person just enjoyed the name Keane, and he was like, oh, there's another Keane that's donated another T-shirt. Having it, bag it up.
No, but I mean, do you look at the labels when you're buying? Did you buy stuff from charity shops? I mean, do you look at the labels when you buy stuff?
Well, I mean, when I put it over my head, I would notice the tag if it had, you know, Sophie written on it or something like that. I'd be like, oh, this was Sophie's T-shirt, cool.
And then would you cut it out?
Well, no.
But see, there you go then. See, maybe you just went, don't care. I'll wear Sophie's clothes. No,
yeah, but he cut the labels out of the rest of them.
Maybe they already were cut out because someone cared, like before they donated them. Like,
Keane didn't.
I don't want James. Well, Keane's an idiot. We all know Keane's, don't we?
Two different Keanes.
Well,
you're an idiot.
You can't even spell the name right for a start.
And also, Joe Thompson's daughter, Jessica Jo, her daughter said that she had heard her on several occasions speaking in Russian on the phone. So there was the theory that Joe might have been a Russian spy. And he might have been implicated in that way and killed because, you know, she was a Soviet spy.
But then as to what, as to why? It's not like that happened and then she moved out the area.
Well, she didn't need to. She wasn't. Nobody thought she was being a bit sus. Everyone was like, oh, she's just a nurse.
But then if she's... I mean, that could very well be true. And then you're saying that maybe the circles that Prosper moved in, he knew enough people to make it kind of disappear. But I
maybe he didn't know anything about it. Maybe Joe was just a really fucking good spy. She just offed him and hid all the evidence.
She was with him until what? When did he die? Like, they were there to the end together.
Maybe they were both Russian spies and some other spy bumped him off and she had to hide the evidence because she didn't want to be implicated because he had her phone number written in the back of his book.
Maybe.
That she took away from him and threw in somebody's car.
Maybe.
Still with her phone number written on it.
And they're all doing this in a suburb in southwest Adelaide, yeah. That hub, God, it's that nexus of spy activity down there, isn't it?
It's Rubaiyat Street.
God, yeah. Whoa. Them Adelaideans. Ooh, they're wrong uns.
It's a bit bizarre.
This is a really bizarre one. I think, for me, this is... Personally, of all the cases we'll discuss, I think this is the most straightforward. It does take a little bit of reach, I do admit that, but I just think he was a sperm lover, turned up, and she didn't want anything to do with him, and he walks away. Well, he didn't walk away.
What, and he killed himself?
No, it's either he killed himself because with that the Tamam Shud ending. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like
a breakup.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a 17-year-old's like broken heart poem, innit? Kind of thing. Like, woe is me. And then he's either killed himself with a pasty that's gone off, or he's been poisoned by something that can't be traced.
But if you're just going to kill yourself, why do it with an untraceable poison? This is what I don't understand. If he was just like some scorned lover, and he's gone to kill himself on the beach, there's plenty of ways he could have done it that weren't so suspicious.
Indeed.
Unless, he was a dodgy dealer and didn't want anybody to know who he was.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But then why is a ballet dancer... Like, why is a ballet dancer gonna, A, kill themselves? He's got all the joy of dancing. And B, how's a ballet dancer going to be a spy? What are they going to learn?
Tightrope walking.
Yeah, oh yeah, God, yeah.
Between buildings.
Yeah. I bet that's a
excellent at parkour.
First question they asked Tom Cruise in the casting, Mission Impossible. How good's your Swan Lake?
I mean, you just don't know these things.
No, exactly.
It's possible.
Yeah, it is.
We don't know the secrets of the film industry or ballet.
Yeah, exactly. I do not know enough to comment on it. It could be a truly. Isn't that the way Black Widow was trained? She was a ballet dancer, and then she started killing people. So who knows?
Maybe it's just ballet that just drives you around the twist.
Maybe it is. It's all on tiptoes, isn't it?
Yeah. And knackered hips by the time you're 25.
Pirouettes and plie.
I'm not even going to ask.
I'm not going to tell you. So
because now I just have visions of you in a tutu, and that's something that will keep me up at night.
Oh wow, God, that's horrific. That's going to keep me up at night. Never mind you, Jesus.
Yeah, but the kind of tutu, like, you know what Jim Carrey wears in Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
That kind of get up.
Yeah. Right. I need to make.
Not like the good kind.
Need to make. What? There's a good kind.
Not for you.
Well, exactly. Right, I need to make a note for Amazon later.
Tutu, hard.
Oh God, imagine. Anyway, no, don't.
No, thanks.
Yeah. So, for me, the Somerton Man, I think he was just a spurned lover that just, between coincidence and bad timing, that is, he just ended up on the beach.
I like your theory.
I'd like to think that way, but we still don't know who he is, so it doesn't matter because he had no ID on him. So it's not necessarily the why. Well, it is the why, the how, and the who kind of with this one. But I think that's a reason with all of them that we'll talk about. But yeah, I think that's the easier one.
Yeah.
And now we'll move on to the Oslo Woman.
Okay, so in Oslo, Norway, in 1995, a woman was due to check into the biggest and poshest, like, celeb hotel, and her check-in card was registered under a Jennifer and Lois Fairgate. When they checked in at the front desk, apparently there was a man and a woman. She signed all her details, she put her address down, and she signed her name as Jennifer Fairgate, as in Fergate. The name on the check-in card was actually Fairgate, which is weird that you can't spell your own name so very wrongly.
I mean, we've all had a couple of shandies, and then when we try to sign the bill, like, oh God.
I mean, that wrong?
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's a totally different word.
Yeah.
So, anyway, after that, nobody saw the man that she'd checked in with again. She successfully managed to check in without needing to show any form of ID or produce a credit card or any kind of money. It was just all kind of put on an account under this name, Jennifer Fairgate. She had the magnetic key cards, you know, that they have in hotels nowadays anyway. And the key card registers every time somebody enters the room. She barely left her room in the course of her stay, except for one period where she was gone for nearly a full day, nearly 24 hours. They said that when she checked in, she was smartly dressed. She had nice shiny black shoes, a little black miniskirt, black trench coat, and she had some little hand luggage with her. She ordered room service while she was there. And at one point during the stay, the receptionist remembered, oh shit, I let that woman check in without asking her for any ID or any money or any credit card, and this is a $350 a night room. I'm going to be sacked in the morning. Maybe I should get some money out of her. This was like by the second or third day that this woman still hadn't paid, and she'd had room service and everything on. So she sent the security guard up to check it out, to kind of have a look. The maids had already been in. They later claimed that on the first night the bed didn't even look like it had been slept in. And so the security guard knocks on the door. He hears a muffled shot. And he's like, oh, that's weird. So he knocks again, and then he hears a full-on gunshot. So he kind of runs back downstairs, not wanting to go in case, there's a wacko with a gun in there. And he kind of calls the police and they open the door, and there's a lady, Jennifer Fairgate, and she's dead on the bed, and it appears that she has committed suicide. She shot herself in the head. Now, this all seems kind of open and shut. She's just this woman who her husband, clearly, that she checked in with, or her brother, whichever guy it was she checked in with, he's kind of left her alone. She's had a fight, maybe. She's depressed. She's overcome with sadness. She's just committed suicide. She's killed herself. We're done. That's it. However, similar to the Somerton Man, and I don't think because she got her clothes at Goodwill, all her labels had been cut out of her clothes. She had no passport, no money, no keys of any kind. She had no identification at all. All she had in her briefcase was 26 rounds, which is kind of weird if you're planning on going to a hotel room to commit suicide, why you would bring another 26 just in case you fail to shoot yourself in the face the first time.
I mean, to be honest with you, if you get it wrong the first time, you're going to be struggling to reload because
Yes.
it's going to hurt, isn't it? Really,
It's that stings.
and it was a Browning 9mm, which has a clip of 12. I'm pretty sure. So I think it's just a bit overkill, really.
Yes, massively. Speaking of the Browning, it had its registration number professionally removed. Apparently, the numbers are ingrained really, really deep, and only a professional would know how deep to go. They're removed with acid or something like that, and it was professionally removed. It was also quite a powerful gun as well, so they were kind of quite impressed that this lady, and she wasn't that big really.
5'4", I think.
Yeah, she was quite slight.
She was,
and
yeah,
she wasn't, she was quite a petite lady. How she had successfully managed to shoot herself in the head and still be holding the gun. She was actually found, and the gun was at a weird angle. It was like she'd pulled the trigger with her thumb, as opposed to holding it properly against the side of your head and using your index finger to pull the trigger. It looked like she'd did it with her thumb. There was no blood on her hands or anything, so from the wound, but there was blood elsewhere in the room. And the gun was still in her hand, despite the fact that it has a really powerful recoil. It didn't fling her hand back. She was still holding it. So that was weird. They looked around as well, and they didn't find any personal possessions, any toiletries, makeup, shampoo, nothing. Although somebody had a shower recently, that much was evident, but they found nothing except for one half-empty bottle of men's cologne. They also rifled through a wardrobe, as you do, and they found that she'd only brought clothes for the top half of her body, nothing for the bottom half. So she had, trench coats and jumpers and shirts and all sorts, but she had one skirt and a pair of tights, and that was it, which is a bit weird. It's Norway. You'd have thought she'd have packed a pair of jeans at least.
You'd think.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
And similar to the Somerton Man, she had quite unique dental work. She actually had gold and porcelain dental work, so she must have had a tiny bit of money.
Who has gold teeth?
Nelly.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Jay-Z.
A load of East End bouncers, but
Del Boy.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. It's something that you see and you'd go, idiot, kind of thing. But this was actually really professionally done, and it was said to emanate from either, I think, South America or mainland Europe. There was only a few places that it actually could have been done, from what I was reading.
So you'd have to be somebody that was well travelled.
Exactly. Yeah.
Really. So the window to her room was actually open, But however, the door was double locked from the inside. So even if you had the key card to open it from the outside, it was bolted from the inside. You couldn't have opened it. The only people that could get in was security. And so people were like, maybe she didn't commit suicide. Maybe she was killed. They did a toxicology report, and for some strange reason, the only thing they tested for was alcohol. They didn't test for any drugs or poisons or anything.
Oh, okay.
I guess they just kind of thought, I mean, she's got a bloody big bullet wound in her head. I think we know what the cause of death was.
Yeah.
You know? So the fact that the first shot was kind of muffled sort of says to me, like, that's the shot that maybe killed her. Like, maybe it's through a pillow or with a silencer or something. And the second shot was just to scare the security guard away so whoever it was could make their break. Although it is kind of hard to escape from that room window. It was really high up. There's no way, unless you were Spider-Man, that you were getting out of there and away.
I mean, her room was 2805, so
yeah.
I don't know if that's on the 28th floor, which I probably doubt it, but I know it's certainly not. It wasn't the second floor, and even if it was the second floor, it's still 3 stories, because obviously you got the ground, the first, and then the second.
Yeah.
So you can't really jump out, and without tying the bed sheets together like a bad prison escape convicts, how are you getting out of there?
Exactly.
There's so many weird things in this one.
Well, especially since they kind of wanted to let the family know that something had happened to Jennifer Fairgate, and it turns out there is no Jennifer Fairgate. She was using an alias. Who would have seen that one coming? And nobody knows anything about her. The address that she wrote and the phone number on her check-in card did actually match up to a little village, but the address was like 108 something street, and I think it only went up to like 95 or something. So she clearly knew the area, she knew the street, but she made up the address. The phone number was the kind of phone number that had the right area code for that village, but when her photo was shown around, nobody had seen her, nobody knew who she was, absolutely nothing. They have no idea who this woman is, and I mean, they even exhumed her body recently to try and do more DNA tests. They came up with absolutely nothing other than that she is very probably of German heritage, but she just is, I mean, clearly a spy, just saying.
Well, I mean, there's so many things that stick out about this case. So the first one is, how are you checking in without a credit card?
Exactly.
You putting no money down, not even a deposit, nothing was put down. So,
to the most expensive hotel in the city. Exactly.
So you either, but they didn't know her, so she couldn't have been a return customer, because obviously sometimes, you know, if you're preferred customer or whatever, you can say, oh yeah, I'll drop it down later. Or, yeah, like you say, she's well-travelled. She knows how hotels work, so she's managed to be able to talk her way in to not putting any ID on, just signing a piece of paper and going...
Like maybe checking in at the busiest time or something, when the receptionist's going to be really flustered, and just using a series of confusion techniques or something to try and get round it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's no... It was the 90s, so okay, maybe it's not like it is today, but even so, it's either one or the other. Credit card or a passport, some form of ID or something. But all she did was sign this card. So that's the first one where you go in, right, okay. And apparently, they did send her a message on the TV to drop her credit card details in. So she ignored all these. That's why the security guard went there.
Yeah.
But a security guard, surely he has a radio.
Yeah.
So why didn't you use the radio and stay at the door rather than going all the way back down to get the security manager to go, yeah, I've just heard a big bang. It sounded like a gunshot in this room. Like, and the manager's looking at him going, what's that on your shoulder, son? Oh, it's my radio, I forgot. Oh. Like,
yeah, well done, lad. The murderer's gone now.
Yeah, and then, That's really weird. And as well, the food that she ordered, in the autopsy, it was found in her body.
Yeah.
So she ordered this, and the timeline is she died. I think the 3rd of June was a Friday evening. No, the 3rd of June was a Sunday evening. Excuse me. So she checked in on the Friday. She ordered food on the Saturday night, and 24 hours later, or going up to 24 hours later, she still had food from the night before in her body. And it usually takes 12 to 18 hours to digest. So, what? Did she eat it cold, or did she
That is bizarre.
eat it and then get killed? It's just because this is one of the things that when I was reading into it, that they would at a loss to suggest how this could happen. Because it was on the Saturday night, but she died on the Sunday evening. And that's interesting because there was a Mr. F staying opposite her room,
Yes.
who was also from Belgium. And when he checked out on Saturday morning. So he checked out on the morning before her death. And when he was interviewed years later, I think it Tales of the Unexpected?
Unsolved Mysteries.
Yes, that's the one. So basically, when he was tracked down, he actually turned round and said, "Oh yeah, the reception asked me about that murder, but I didn't hear anything." And they went, "Well, that's probably because you checked out like 8 hours before it happened." Interesting.
Sorry to hear about that murder. Sorry, what murder? Did I say murder? I've left you a 5-star review. You have a good day now.
So there's a lot of things here. So one of the things that, because of the food that was undigested, was that, and because the room seemed so sterile the next day, that someone had actually stayed in the room after killing her, and then cleaned it down, and then put the gun in her hand. And when security knocked on the door, that was the second shot, because there was two shots. One was shot through a pillow, and then one went through. It was the centre of the forehead as well, which is the most bizarre way to shoot yourself, especially if you're using your thumb.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you just use your forefinger?
Yeah. If she was using her thumb, she would run the risk of accidentally deflecting and it basically taking half her skull off.
It's scalping her, because of the kickback as well. And the kickback on it, she was a slight lady, but it would have surely have thrown her hand in a different position. But the way it looked placed, and there was no blood or bullet residue on her hand.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think this one is Spy, definitely. It's either Spy or Lady of the Night, and someone's got caught with his pants down.
But then, why take all the labels out of her clothes? What is it with all these people taking the labels out of there? Is it because they all actually shop at Primark, but they want everyone to think they shop at Gucci?
That's it as well. And what difference does a label have, unless it's like got your name and address in it? And I'm sure like we had that when we were 9 or 10, but we've all moved on since then, surely.
Well, probably because it gives away a lot of where you're from. Like if it's like Reebok, you know that it's European, but if it's like the label could be in Russian or Chinese or anything, and then it would be like, oh yeah, this person's Chinese or this person's Russian.
I think I'm not going to touch that one, but I'll walk away. There could be more discerning factors to tell that you're Chinese, I'll be honest, rather than you label
you know
your
what I
clothes.
mean.
But yeah, okay.
Or that they've bought the clothes in China, so they have been in China, but so you can trace it back on a timeline.
wouldn't that help your not your alibi, but the mystique of it all? To say, oh, they went to China. Why? To throw misdirection.
Well, no, because if you're a spy,
But then
Yeah,
if you're paying with cash and you're not leaving a paper trail, all they've got is this person bought a Chinese skirt in China one day. That's all they've got.
That's true. Yeah.
I think it'd help more, because then you create this illusion of this mystique kind of thing. I don't get what the. Obviously, I'm not a spy, because I'd be rubbish. Because I've got all the labels in my clothes.
With your name on them for when you get lost or when you're drunk with your address on.
Exactly. I just show them the taxi driver like that. Take me there, mate. That's why I don't get...
What you don't know is that your wife's listening to this and she's planning on cutting all the labels out of your clothes.
Feel like, take me there, mate. And you're like... No, no, I refuse. I'm going to ring the police now because that's sexual assault. No, there's a label. No. Oh, Jesus.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
Please don't. I'm going to buy new clothes now and hide them.
But it's a very odd case, and I do think that she was a spy.
There's... For this one, there is very little else to... Everything is done too cleanly for it to be not a professional hit or a professional job that has been done on this, because the sterilisation of the room, there was no other fingerprints, the way the gun is, I mean, like you say, the room was double locked. Only if you know how to get in and out of that room are you going to do it. It's not like you or me could do it. You need to be trained in how to get in and out of them rooms.
Yeah.
But the thing is as well, with the with when she went out, because there was on the timeline, she kind of only left the room once in the 3 days, but it was for nearly a full day.
Yeah. Where did she go?
Yeah, what was she doing?
For a full day. Maybe she went to the cinema. Maybe they had a Lord of the Rings trilogy on. That would take all day, right?
Could be. Maybe she just wasn't like looking around Oslo. I mean, so that's it's the labels and the teeth. That's the overriding factor we've got in all these cases. Which brings us
on to the Isdal Woman. Yes.
Yes, exactly. It brings us on to the Isdal Woman. So
apparently this lady in 1970 in a remote place called Ice Valley in Norway. It's where all the weird shit goes down.
Isdalan.
There you go.
There you go. Just for cat that.
So this guy who was hiking with his kids in this remote, really bad terrain area, perfect place to bring your kids. This
is the weird start to it, because how were they? Why were they? I mean,
why were they there?
I know you go on a walk, but weren't they like kids? They weren't teenagers. Yeah. They were kids.
Yeah.
And
that's what's weird.
It's from the pictures that I've seen, it looks like even the investigators needed like climbing gear to get to this place. So
yes, it was really inaccessible.
Such a bizarre place to be with your two young daughters.
Yeah, like we could all die on this hike, but be worth it.
At least we've got the fresh air and the steps in. That's all that matters.
Exactly. So, as if their day couldn't get any worse than their dad going, "Hey kids, we're going to go hiking today." They're like, "Oh,
Dad, Pokemon's on TV. Why?"
Dad, you're such a loser. So, as if their day couldn't get any worse, they stumble across this body that is so badly burned it's unrecognisable. They can't tell. They can tell that it was a woman, but they can't tell what she looked like. because she's so badly burned, and her fists are up in the pose that is usual for burn victims. As your muscles contract, it pulls all your muscles together in kind of a boxer pose. You see a lot of the victims of Pompeii that are all in that kind of pose from the heat. So she was found like that. Now, she was wearing a lot of layers of clothing. And she was found, allegedly they thought it was a suicide because they found up to 70 sleeping pills in her body, which is quite a lot. And they were quite sturdy barbiturates as well, which are pretty hardcore stuff. As well as obviously finding smoke in her lungs. So they deduced that she'd gone to commit suicide, took the sleeping pills, and then thought, well, hey, I'll just set myself on fire just to make sure it's done right, and set herself on fire, as if 70 sleeping pills aren't going to do the trick.
Yeah, and I mean, with the 70 sleeping pills, that's a lot of volume. Like, never mind, like, can you imagine eating, like, 70 Tic Tacs? And you'd be like, oof, I'm stuffed.
You would, yeah.
Why?
Like 70 Skittles.
How has she got them into her body?
I know. And if she was killed, how did somebody else get her to take 70 pills? I don't think it's suicide just because of the way that her stuff was positioned by her body, like a little shrine, like her watch and her umbrella and her rubber boots and stuff. They were all like, her watch and her jewellery were placed by her body as if somebody had taken them off and placed them neatly beside her, which kind of is... maybe she did kill herself, and maybe she thought, I don't want to get this good watch and bracelet ruined, so I'll just pop these on the rock before I set myself on fire. Oh, I'm so sleepy. Oh, let's kick it up. Better light this fire quick before I drift off.
But then, why take them off? Why not just wear them and like, because obviously you don't care what's going to happen to them.
Well, I mean, maybe they were...
Unless it's OCD or something.
She didn't take her teeth out, though. She had several gold crowns.
Yeah.
They must have been worth a bob.
Again, with the gold teeth and the unique teeth thing. And
maybe it's spy criteria.
Maybe that's where the cyanide pills are, in the teeth.
Yeah.
In the gold
Or maybe
teeth.
they just like their spies to look... Like, you know, if you smiled at somebody across the street and they had, like, gold teeth, you could be like, oh, they're a spy as well. And then you know who your friends are if you're a spy.
But surely that's, like, a distinguishing visual mark on yourself. Like, do you remember that guy with gold teeth? You don't blend into the crowd. You've got, like, a king sparkly grill going on. I don't know how the kids say it, but...
Well, I mean, all of them seem to have really...
They loved
elaborate teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
They did.
That's it. Their handlers must have been like, "You're going to get us in trouble one day with them teeth." I tell you, Jesus. Putin's been on the
gang
phone
or something.
Putin's been on the phone and he's like, "We're stopping any gold teeth." Like, they've taken dental off the health insurance because of you lot.
Do you think, like, you know, when you go on holiday with all your friends and you all get so absolutely monged off your face, you all get matching tattoos? Do you think this is what happened on, like, a spy team building weekend? They all got absolutely whacked off their tits and all got gold dentures and things like that.
And that's why they all had to be killed.
Yes. They could give the goddamn game it have them all professionally done. Make it professional.
Jesus. But not by anyone with gold teeth, because he needs to blend into the crowd. Jeez. Bad enough.
Oh, we've cracked this. We've definitely cracked this, which also blows apart your Somerton Man theory, because then he would have had to have been a spy as well.
Indeed, but maybe his teeth that were taken out were gold teeth and they were taken.
You're still clinging to it. I respect that.
Maybe he was the OG, the leader of the gang, because he's the oldest one, isn't he?
I mean, he was certainly the most experienced at ballet.
Exactly. Maybe he taught them all. Some Black Swan stuff, I tell you.
Well, similar to the Somerton Man, though, they did find a suitcase at the train station belonging to this woman. Why are these people leaving all their belongings at train stations, I will never know. It's like the dodgiest place you could leave something.
To be honest with
I
you...
won't even get an Amazon parcel from a train station because it'd be nicked before I get out there. If she was planning on killing herself, she would have no reason to leave them at the train station. She'd just bring it with her and burn the lot.
Or just leave it wherever.
Yeah, don't bring it.
yeah, exactly. Like, she's paid for that. Why is she paying for it? Just leave it on the side of the road.
Oh, money's clearly not an issue if you've got, gold crowns.
Gold teeth, yeah, I suppose, yeah. Gee.
She also, in this suitcase, bizarrely, she had a variety of different disguises. And she also had German, Norwegian, Belgian, British and Swiss money. So she was very well travelled as well. It was said that she used the alias of Fenella Lorch, as well as some that you found.
I mean, to be honest with you, I've not wrote them down, but she did use, every time she checked in somewhere, she did use a Christian/Catholic name, either in a forename or a surname, which has led some people to suggest some things, but I think it's grabbing at straws, to be honest. I think as well, I mean, they had the notebook as well, which a notebook which contained a code which revealed the dates and places that she had stayed.
Yeah, because she kept moving. She would change hotel rooms, and then even when she got to a hotel, she stayed at different hotels, and then when she got to different hotels, she would be like, oh, I want to change rooms. And she changed rooms several times. It was clear she didn't want anybody to know where she was or what room she was staying in. She was trying to cover her tracks quite clearly, either that or she was really, really fucking picky.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I read as well, that she spoke in hushed tones. This is one of the things that some of the people that worked in the hotels have said about that while she was on the phone, she was always constantly aware of her surroundings, and she changed rooms. But another thing, they said she spoke German, Flemish, French and broken English, but another thing which several witnesses have said is that she smelt of garlic.
Yes, the man in the shoe shop that sold her the celebrity boots.
Yeah, and someone in the Bergen Hotel said it as well. So two different kind of people are saying this. So she's trying to keep low key, but she can't avoid garlic bread.
Maybe she was a vampire slayer.
Maybe, or maybe she just
liked garlic.
Yeah, and didn't like showers. I don't know, or toothpaste.
When she was found, right, the front of her body was burned, but not the back, and she had a bruise on the right side of her neck.
The first thing that I read was that she, not the first thing, but one of the theories that I've read is that she was an IRA. She worked for the IRA because at this time the IRA were buying guns and they were coming in from the Scandinavian market. So she was there to kind of do a deal to buy guns. That's why she used Catholic names, and there's a Gaelic name in there when she checked in, and this is why she moved constantly. She was always looking over her shoulder. But another thing I read as well was that she was a protester, and she was protesting the Penguin missiles that Norway were actually trying out, and there was a boat. I can't remember the life of me what it's called, but the Norwegian Army, Navy, whoever had these missiles were doing a test, and she was actually on this boat, which was a test boat, so they fired a missile at it, and she had a sign, and they didn't see her on it, and blew up the ship. She died on the ship, that's why, maybe not died, but she burned on the ship. That's why the front of her is burnt, and there was propane gas canisters on this boat, and that's the heat source that the Penguin missile followed, and it burnt her, and she wasn't actually dead, but her other protesters kind of got her and then took her away, and then I think this was down in the south, and then took her all the way to Bergen to put her on this mountain to die. So
Why?
exactly, of all the tenuous links, I was like, okay, that's cutting it fine.
Isn't it? That's bizarre.
But there is kind of the Penguin missiles is one of the spy theories as well, because some of her where she travelled, they were actually doing missile tests at this point. When she travelled to get the fancy Wellington boots, they were doing a missile test there in and around this time. When she was in Oslo, I think, as well, they were doing a missile test. But the timeline, if you look at it, doesn't follow every missile test. It just follows a few. So there is a theory that she was kind of a Soviet spy trying to find out about the famed Norwegian Defence Force.
If she was a spy, it would fit, really, the amount of disguises she had.
Well, exactly, that's it. As well, she had... Who has more than one wig, to be honest, if you're not a spy?
Katy Perry?
Yeah, I mean, why would you go out with Russell Brand if you weren't a spy? But yeah, she had a lot of identities and a lot of clothes and disguises that she should have. I definitely think that she was up to no good.
Yeah, she didn't kill herself. She was proper shifty.
Oh, yeah, I mean, because as well, like, why would you take that many sleeping pills and think, oh, this might not work, I'll set fire to myself? Of all the ways to go.
I just don't think that 70 sleeping pills wouldn't work. I'm actually surprised she got through that many, like, without them kicking in. Like, I would have thought when she got through about 30, she'd be like, oh, I feel real sleepy.
Exactly. How'd you stay awake? I mean, who...
Unless she's hardened to sleeping pills and it takes 70 just to knock her out.
I mean, jeez.
Because there was smoke in her lungs, so she had to have still been alive.
Yeah.
When she was on fire.
So, the cause of death was carbon monoxide poisoning rather than any of the burning. And that was brought on because she was incapacitated by the barbiturates.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't actually an overdose, and it wasn't being set on fire. It was the smoke that got her. See, fire kills in minutes, smoke kills in seconds. If there's one thing you take away today,
story.
Yeah, exactly, take that away, I tell you. But yeah, so she wasn't, but suicide. Who's going to burn themselves to death? I mean,
it's a bit extreme, isn't it?
Of all the I mean, taking pills is bad because it like rots your stomach from the inside, and then all your stomach acid drops onto your bits, and then you burn inside out. So
painful way to go.
It's a horrible way to go, but I think burning is worse, to be honest.
I know that there's like extremists who like set fire to themselves in the extreme countries where there's riots and things like that. They do it as like a protest, but I've never heard of anybody who would use setting themselves on fire as just a backup just in case the sleeping pills don't work.
Exactly, and I mean, who's going to notice a cause if she's in the middle of this, like halfway up this mountain, in the middle of this valley? Like,
yes.
what cause is that for? I understand, like, that monk burning himself for the Vietnam War and whatnot. You've got a cause, you're in full public spectacle, but when you're halfway up a hill and no one finds you for days, like, free Tibet. Well,
it's a bit bizarre.
Yeah, no one knew you were here, love, or else we would have freed Tibet. Now it's too late, kind of thing. But why was she out there? Why was she in this random place? There's easier ways to... Maybe she thought because it was so inaccessible she wasn't going to get found. But then I'm pretty sure Norway has, like, fjords that you can not find the bottom of.
Yeah.
So she could have drowned, like just put a few stones in a bag and jumped into a fjord. If she didn't want to be found, none of this makes any sense at all.
It doesn't, because if somebody killed her, how did they force 70 sleeping pills down her neck? I can understand that they set her on fire, but...
They would have had to taken her to that place. So was she taken to that place under duress? Did she go willingly? If she went willingly, why? I mean...
Maybe they knocked her out. Like, maybe they, like, knocked her out with chloroform, then dragged her out there, then pushed 70 sleeping tablets down her throat, and then set her on fire. It's a bit extreme.
It is. And for the sleeping pills not to work... Like, all right, when you've got a headache and you take one Anadin and then an hour later you're like, oh, I've still got a headache, I'll take another. Granted, but 70, like, surely...
It's a bit overkill.
Yeah, she didn't take it over the course, because to find them in the stomach as well, they weren't digested. So,
yeah,
she took them at one point, like, just... Did she have a big bowl of them, like M&M's, and just tip them up and go, ah!
And then set herself on fire. She's like, it's not working, this.
Yeah.
Like, 4.5 seconds after she just necked them all. It's not working. And then just set herself on fire.
I've not got the patience.
I mean, it kind of sounds like that.
And I've still got a headache. Bloody hell. She was actually buried in a zinc-lined coffin. So, she can still be ID'd if anyone actually turns up and claims to know her.
Yeah.
So she won't actually decompose with it, which is hopefully we'll get to the bottom. But I mean, I don't think we will without a Freedom of Information Act kind of thing, because I think it's a little bit hush hush and.
Yeah, certainly seems that way.
But again, if you want to make it hush hush, why make it so bizarre?
Yeah, it's more of a talking point, isn't it?
Yeah. Throw in a fjord with a backpack full of rocks and then...
Yeah. Or just leave her in her apartment on an overdose of sleeping tablets.
Exactly. I mean...
Then no one asks any questions.
God, just...
With a letter that's like some sort of sad poem.
Yeah, indeed.
And everyone's like, she was depressed, she had a lot of crap going on, and she committed suicide. That's case closed.
Yeah, simple, rather than...
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. Why?
Yes. And why the celebrity boots? They were fuck awful.
I know, and there was so much placed in these celebrity boots. It's like, no, they're welly boots. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Celebrity
blue
boots.
wellies.
Yeah. They're called celebrity boots because a lot of celebrities are wearing them. What, Twiggy? She's from England. It rains a lot. Jesus.
Glastonbury. That's why all the celebrities were wearing them.
Yeah. Celebrity boots. No, they're wellies. Come on. Sort it out.
Apparently she spent a long time choosing them.
Yes. While stinking out the shop.
Yeah.
and it's mad that they actually still do remember her to that day, to this day, or the day at least that they were filming that series, and the same people still own the shop.
But they've probably made a killing out of this case.
But I tell you, I bet that's the only reason why this case is still going. The celebrity bloody boots. They've just marketed it. That's all. I bet they killed her.
They're using it for PR, aren't they?
There we go. They killed her and went, you know what? We'll make these boots famous. We'll call them celebrity boots. I don't care. No celebrities wore them yet. But once we get rid of this one... There you go. You see.
Solved.
Indeed. Done. Another one knocked off.
We'll wrap up with Cambo.
Yeah, Cambo. And there's not actually that much that I can find about this. It's just a bizarre little footnote, I suppose, that comes up when you try and do research about the Isdal Woman and the Oslo Woman. So the Cambo Man was a gentleman that was found in 1987, and he was found dead on or near the train tracks.
Yeah, it was on the train tracks because the train driver thought he hit him. Or no, he did hit him, didn't he? The train driver did hit him.
Yeah. So it was between Oslo and Moss, I think.
Mm.
But I think Cambo was the area, hence why he has the name. But there's a lot of things. There's no ID on the dead man. There's no labels in the clothes that can tell him anything about where he comes from. All he had on him was a Swiss Army knife and a pack of Camel cigarettes that was nearly empty. This, for me, from what I've read on it, I mean, I think this is more of someone, a hobo who was riding the rails, because he's an older gentleman, 55 to... I mean, I say older gentleman. He's in my age group, 55 to 65. But that's literally all we know. I mean... He has dentures, but that's not that unique when you get to that age, I suppose.
Unless they were gold.
Well, yeah, it doesn't say anything. But
there was a note found in the back of his shoe.
Oh, okay.
With the number 15250 on it. It was like on a little tag in the back of his shoe that nobody ever figured out what that meant. I can't even think like what it could be, like 15th of February 1950. Or 1525 with what should have been a smiley face. I mean, all we have as a generalisation for linking these cases is the codes that were found on the bodies, the fact that none of them had any ID and all the labels were cut out of their clothes. They nearly all had elaborate teeth work, and they were nearly all of German or Belgian nationality. Oh, and they all appeared to have died by suicide.
It's all been done in a way to make you think that. There's not been any circumstances when you look at the body that the coroner can say they've been murdered, kind of thing.
Yeah, like I don't want to get case blindness and not see the cases as individual, but at the same time, I do kind of still think that they have too many links to not be the same kind of thing.
Yeah, there's too many factors that you have that just link them. Like the teeth for a start. How random is that? Like all three cases have unique teeth. Two of the cases, especially the Isdal and the Oslo woman, they both speak German and French, and they're from that area. They've been linked to that area. Mm-hmm. They have disguises or lack of disguises and lack of identification marks on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's too similar to go, no, it's coincidence.
Yeah.
But I do think that the Isdal and the Oslo woman were spies, and I think the Somerton Man, I just think it was a spurned lover. Although the ballet now, it's making me think maybe he was a spy. I mean, it's just, I'm just like...
Is that a prerequisite?
Well, no, but it's like Black Widow, innit? I mean...
What grade did you get in ballet at school? Oh, I mean, it was a C-. So sorry, you can't join the spy club.
Yeah, exactly. Get out. I wonder what grade Putin got. See him pirouetting and playing.
That's interesting thoughts.
Jesus, yeah. God. Him with his leg up on the banister.
Well, thanks for that image.
Yeah, that'll be his next calendar shoot. I shouldn't really slag him off, because I could be found like with 70 paracetamols in my stomach in a bit.
Well, that's all right. I'll be on to him if you are.
Yeah. Oh, great. Cheers. I'm sure he's shitting himself. Yeah.
That's all right. You'll go missing and then be found with apparent suicide of 70 pills and set yourself on fire. And I'll have made another podcast like, so this is what happened to and I reckon. And then suddenly all my podcasts will just disappear, and I'll just go missing and be never heard from again.
That's it. So download this and keep it forever, because we may not be heard of again.
Yeah.
So just in case. I'm scared now. Ever since we did the boy in the walls story, I've been scared, but now I'm even more scared that the boy in the walls is going to be Putin, and I'll open my cupboard and he'll be stood there with no shirt on, in his underwear, with a needle, like, aha, see you in the woods.
Well, to be fair, you didn't pick the least scariest of topics, did you? I mean, if you didn't want to be scared, you should have said, hey, do you want to do a podcast on cookery? Or needlework?
Puppies
or embroidery?
And kittens.
Crochet?
Yeah.
Cross-stitching? No?
No, I just went, no, let's discuss murderers and weird shit.
Yeah. I mean, if you'd have said any of the previous ones, I'd have gone, no.
Unfollow.
No, thank you.
And I wouldn't have blamed you, to be honest.
Not a big fan of cross-stitch.
No. Just going to drop an advertisement in for next podcast about ballet. Ballet and opera.
Let's get some sponsors.
I'll start reviewing them next week.
It's all good.
So yeah, they were the three stories: the Somerton Man, the Oslo Woman, and the Isdal Woman, which were all linked in some way or another, and we don't know what happened to them. We probably never will, because there's a lot of secrecy that goes on. But obviously, it's just weird to be. If you're that good at spying and then you leave that many clues as to leave it open, if you know what I mean, like, they should have just been all found